This is what someone like you deserves. My mother-in-law's voice cut through the festive Christmas morning air as she thrust a battered teddy bear toward my 8-year-old daughter. The bear's left arm hung by threads, its once golden fur matted and gray, with stuffing poking through multiple tears. My heart stopped as I watched Lily's small hands reach for the bear, her eyes wide with a mix of confusion and hope. Around us, my sister-in-law's children clutched their brand-new tablets and designer clothes, casting smug glances our way. Sarah, my mother-in-law, turned to me, her lips curled in that familiar smirk. I found this in a donation box. I thought it would be perfect for Lily. After all, we can't all be fortunate enough to give our children the best. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at that moment, watching my daughter cradle that broken bear while her cousins snickered, I felt a familiar pain twist in my chest. Since losing my husband David 2 years ago to a sudden heart attack, his mother had made it her mission to remind us that we no longer belonged in their privileged world. But what Margaret didn't understand was that she'd just given Lily exactly what she needed. "Thank you, Grandma," Lily whispered, pressing the bear close to her heart. "He's perfect." The sincerity in her voice made my mother-in-law's smirk falter for just a moment. I watched as Lily carried the bear to a quiet corner of the lavish living room, away from her cousin's new toys. She sat cross-legged on the floor, gently examining each tear in the bear's worn fabric, her small fingers tracing the loose seams with such tenderness it brought tears to my eyes. "Well," Margaret announced loudly, "I suppose we should be grateful for what we get, shouldn't we?" She turned to my sister-in-law, Jessica. "Thank goodness some of us can provide properly for our children." I caught Jessica's uncomfortable shift as she glanced at her own kids, surrounded by expensive gifts. She'd been different since David died, following her mother's lead in pushing us to the margins of family gatherings. Sometimes I caught glimpses of the woman who'd once been my friend, but those moments were rare now. Later that evening, as I helped Lily pack our things to leave, Margaret cornered me in the hallway. "You know, Sarah, if you just let me help manage David's life insurance, you wouldn't have to subject Lily to such embarrassment." I met her gaze steadily. "The insurance isn't a college fund for Lily, Margaret. That's what David wanted." "David wanted his daughter to have the best," she snapped. "Not to be showing up at family gatherings looking like a charity case." Before I could respond, Lily appeared beside me, the torn bear hugged tight to her chest. "Mommy, can we go home now? Mr. Patches needs rest." "Mr. Patches," Margaret scoffed. "You named that raggedy thing?" Lily nodded solemnly. "Yes, because he has patches of love all over him." She held up the bear, pointing to its tears. "See, each patch tells a story. Like this one here could be from when he protected someone from being scared at night." For a moment, I saw something flicker in Margaret's eyes, surprise, maybe even a hint of shame. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "Come on, sweetheart," I said, taking Lily's hand. "Let's get Mr. Patches home." The drive home was quiet, snow falling softly outside our car windows. In the rearview mirror, I could see Lily whispering to her new bear, and despite everything, I smiled. My daughter had inherited her father's gift for finding beauty in broken things. "Mommy," Lily's voice broke through my thoughts, "can we stop at the craft store?" "The craft store? It's Christmas night, honey. Everything's closed." "Tomorrow then. Mr. Patches needs some special things." I glanced back at her again, surprised by the determination in her young face. "Special things." He needs healing, Mommy. Like when you helped heal my heart after Daddy went to heaven." My throat tightened. "Of course we can go tomorrow, baby." That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she propped Mr. Patches carefully on her pillow. "He's not really broken, you know," she whispered. "He's just got lots of stories to tell. Like how you say Daddy's love stories are all around us, even though we can't see him anymore." I kissed her forehead, fighting back tears. "That's right, sweetheart, and you know what? I think Mr. Patches is very lucky to have found you." As I turned up a light, Lily's voice drifted after me. "We're going to make him beautiful, Mommy. You'll see. And then maybe Grandma won't be so sad anymore." I paused in the doorway, struck by her words. Trust my 8-year-old to see what the adults couldn't, that sometimes the deepest wounds aren't the ones you can see. Later, sitting alone in the living room with David's picture, I couldn't help but smile. Margaret had meant to hurt us today, to remind us of what we'd lost. Instead, she'd given my daughter exactly what she needed: a chance to heal something broken. What I didn't know then was that torn teddy bear would change everything, not just for Lily, but for our entire family. Sometimes the most precious gifts come in the most unexpected packages, and sometimes the greatest healing starts with a broken heart and a child's unwavering love. But that was just the beginning. The next morning, Lily practically bounced through the craft store aisles, Mr. Patches tucked safely in her backpack with just his worn head peeking out. Her eyes lit up at the rows of colorful fabrics, threads, and ribbons. "Look, Mommy," she pointed to a shelf of soft, patterned cloth. "This one has tiny hearts, just like the love Daddy sends us." She ran her fingers over a blue fabric dotted with golden stars. "And this one looks like the night sky when we tell Daddy goodnight." I watched as she carefully selected each piece, her face scrunched in concentration. This wasn't just about fixing a teddy bear. To Lily, this was something much more important. At the register, the elderly cashier smiled at Mr. Patch's head poking out of the backpack. "Well, who do we have here?" Lily proudly pulled him out. "This is Mr. Patches. Grandma gave him to me because she's hurting inside, but she doesn't know how to say it. So we're going to help him tell this story." The cashier's eyes met mine, understanding passing between us. "That's very wise of you, sweetheart. Sometimes the best stories come from broken places." Over the next few weeks, I watched in amazement as Lily worked on Mr. Patches. She insisted on doing most of it herself, though I helped with the trickier stitching. Each tear received special attention, each patch carefully chosen. "This golden heart patch," she explained one evening, "is for Daddy's love. And these stars are for all the nights he watches over us." She pointed to a patch of soft blue fabric. "This is the color of Grandma's eyes when she used to smile, before she got sad." I hadn't realized Lily had noticed that, how Margaret's eyes had lost their warmth after David died. Sometimes children see things we adults miss. One Saturday morning, about a month after Christmas, Margaret showed up unannounced at our door. I could tell by her rigid posture that something was wrong. "Sarah," she said tersely, "I've come to discuss Lily's college fund. The market is quite favorable right now, and if you just let me—" "Grandma," Lily's excited voice interrupted as she ran down the stairs. "You came at the perfect time. Mr. Patches is almost ready." Margaret's carefully composed expression faltered. "That old bear? You still have it. Come see." Lily grabbed her grandmother's hand, catching Margaret so off guard that she actually followed. In Lily's room, Mr. Patches sat proudly on her bed. He was transformed. Each tear had been carefully mended with beautiful, meaningful patches. His arms were secure, his stuffing contained. But it was more than just repairs. Each patch told a story, creating a tapestry of love and memory. "See this one." Lily pointed to a patch near the bear's heart. "It's from Daddy's old tie. Mommy helped me. And this one is from the blanket you used to wrap me in when I was a baby. Remember, Grandma? You told me that story." Margaret's hand trembled as she reached out to touch the familiar fabric. You kept that?" "Mommy keeps everything that has love in it," Lily explained. "She says that's how we keep the good memories safe." She picked up Mr. Patches, holding him out to her grandmother. "He's not broken anymore, Grandma. He's just full of stories now. Like us." I watched as Margaret took the bear, her fingers tracing each carefully chosen patch. Her eyes lingered on the piece from David's tie, and I saw something crack in her perfectly maintained facade. "David," she whispered, and for the first time since his death, I heard real emotion in her voice. "He used to wear this tie every Sunday. For family dinner." Lily nodded enthusiastically. "And look, this patch is the color of his eyes. And this one has music notes because he always sang me to sleep." Margaret sank onto Lily's bed, still holding Mr. Patches. I saw a tear slip down her cheek, then another. "I miss him so much," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Sometimes it hurts too much to look at us," I finished softly, "because we remind you of him?" She nodded, and suddenly I understood. Every time she looked at Lily, she saw David, in her smile, her laugh, the way she found beauty in broken things. It had been easier to push us away than to face that constant reminder of what she'd lost. Lily climbed onto the bed next to her grandmother, leaning her head against Margaret's shoulder. "It's okay, Grandma. Mr. Patches knows about missing people. That's why he has all these patches, to help hold the love together even when things feel broken." Margaret pulled Lily close, really holding her for the first time since David died. And as I watched them together, with that patchwork bear between them, I realized that sometimes healing comes in the most unexpected ways, through torn teddy bears, children's wisdom, and the simple act of acknowledging our shared pain. What happened next would change our family forever. But in that moment, watching my daughter teach her grandmother about love and healing, I already knew something miraculous was taking place. Spring arrived, bringing with it unexpected changes. Margaret began visiting regularly, not to discuss money or the college fund, but to spend time with Lily. Each visit, she brought a small memento from David's childhood, a baseball card he treasured, a medal from his high school swimming days, photos I'd never seen before. I thought, she said one afternoon, watching Lily add another meaningful patch to Mr. Patch's, these might make good stories for him. It became their ritual. Every weekend, Margaret would come over with a new memory to share. She and Lily would sit together, adding patches and telling stories. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they cried, but always they healed a little more. Jessica noticed the change too. One day she arrived with her children, carrying a box of old fabric scraps. "Mom found these in the attic," she explained hesitantly. "They're from when we were kids. I thought maybe Lily could use them for Mr. Patches." Her children, who had once smirked at the torn bear, now sat fascinated as Lily explained the meaning behind each patch. To my surprise, they started bringing their own torn toys to her, asking if Mr. Patches could help make them better. Soon, Lily's room became a kind of healing place. Her cousins would come over with their damaged stuffed animals, and together they would choose patches and share stories. Margaret would sit with them, teaching them to sew, passing down the skills her own mother had taught her. "You know," Margaret told me one day as we watched the children work, "I was wrong about so many things, Sarah. I thought wealth and status were what made a family strong. But watching Lily with that bear, she understood something I'd forgotten." I looked at her questioningly. "That it's our broken places that make us beautiful. The way we patch ourselves together, the stories we share, that's what really matters." As summer approached, word about Mr. Patches spread beyond our family. It started when Lily's teacher asked her to bring him for show and tell. The other children were captivated by his patchwork of stories, and soon parents were approaching me at school pickup, telling me about their own children's torn toys and broken hearts. That's when Margaret surprised us all. She came over one Sunday, more animated than I'd seen her in years. "I've been thinking," she announced. "The guest house at my place, it's just sitting empty. What if we turned it into a place where children could bring their torn toys? A healing place, like Lily's room, but bigger." Lily's eyes lit up. "Like a hospital for stuffed animals?" "Exactly," Margaret smiled. "We could call it Mr. Patch's Place, a space where children can learn to mend things, share stories, and understand that being broken doesn't mean being worthless." And so, on what would have been David's birthday, we opened Mr. Patch's Place. Margaret transformed the guest house into a warm, welcoming space filled with fabric, thread, and children's laughter. Lily became known as the head healer, teaching other children what she learned about healing broken things and broken hearts. Jessica's children became regular volunteers, proudly wearing badges that identified them as patch partners. Even Jessica herself started coming more often, slowly rebuilding the friendship we'd once shared. One year after that Christmas morning, when Margaret gave Lily the torn teddy bear, we hosted a special celebration at Mr. Patch's Place. Children and parents filled the space, each bringing their own mended toys and stories to share. Margaret stood up to speak, Mr. Patches cradled gently in her arms. "A year ago," she began, her voice thick with emotion, "I gave this bear to my granddaughter, thinking I was teaching her a lesson about her place in the world. Instead, she taught me the most valuable lesson of all." She looked at Lily, tears shining in her eyes. "She showed me that our scars and patches aren't something to hide. They're proof of our journey, our healing, our love." My son, her father, would have been so proud of the way she transformed something broken into something beautiful. Later that evening, as I tucked Lily into bed, Mr. Patches in his place of honor beside her pillow, she said something that made my heart swell. "Mommy, remember when Grandma gave me Mr. Patches? She thought he was just a broken bear, but he was really a piece of magic. He helped heal her heart." I kissed her forehead, marveling at my daughter's wisdom. "You're right, sweetheart. Sometimes the best gifts don't look like gifts at all." Now, whenever I visit Mr. Patch's place, I see Margaret sitting with children, teaching them to sew with the same patience and love she once reserved for her social status. I see Jessica's kids proudly showing newcomers their own mended toys. And I see Lily moving from table to table with Mr. Patches, sharing her belief that every tear tells a story and every broken thing deserves a chance to become beautiful again. That torn teddy bear didn't just change our family, it created a ripple effect of healing throughout our community. And sometimes when the light hits just right, I swear I can see David smiling, proud of how his little girl turned an act of cruelty into a legacy of love. As for Mr. Patches, he sits in a special place of honor at Lily's bedside, his patchwork heart still collecting stories, still teaching us all that sometimes the most precious gifts come wrapped in unexpected packages, even torn, tattered ones that just need a little love to reveal their true magic.